right, and we have our first guest with us on our Maine Volunteer Leadership Conference preview episode of Issues, and it is our keynote speaker. He's the president of the Holloway Group LLC. His keynote is called Greatness is in You. I'd like to welcome on to Issues, TJ Holloway. TJ, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very awesome to be here with you.
And thank you too for, of course, accepting the offer to be our keynote speaker this year for the conference. We're excited to have you, our second year in a virtual setting. So, and we know just from talking right before we recorded, it sounds like you're doing a lot of virtual work right now yourself still, as we're speaking at the end of September.
Right, tons of it, tons of virtual things. And it's actually added a lot to a lot of myself and my colleagues' repertoire, like essentially everything that you do now you also have a virtual version that you can add to your menu. So one of the byproducts that can be added as a result of the pandemic.
And of course, while we are interviewing in an online setting, folks will see that conference organizer Kelsey Priest is joining us here in the interview as well. She'll be with us for all the interviews. So thanks for dropping in too, Kelsey. So let's not waste any more time, because I know I am just about ready to go off on several tangents. TJ, could you give us some details, or give the audience some details, a little bit about your background?
My background. So I am not a native Mainer, but I love Maine. Like this is definitely where my wife and I, we made a definitive decision to homestead right here in this wonderful and great state. I'm from North Carolina. I grew up in Durham, North Carolina. Lived there all of my young adult life. I went to Pfeiffer University. You probably never heard of Pfeiffer University.
Have not.
It's fairly small, but I would say prestigious liberal arts university, where I got a degree in business communication. And I stayed in North Carolina for a little bit after graduation. And I wound up moving to Maine at the behest of a frat brother and friend of mine. And I lived in Portland for a number of years until I heard of Hudson University, and they were looking to hire somebody as a resident director. So I said, you know what? If I go and work at the university, I could probably take some classes too. So that's exactly what I did, and I got my master's degree from Hudson. Fell in love with university. I love Hudson University with all my heart. My students, absolutely fantastic. And this is where I live. This is where it's at for me, for life. Aside, started working as, which a lot of people in my profession do. You spend a lot of time in the classroom with students, and over time you do a lot of research and kind of become an expert on some part of your craft. And mine was really leadership, which I'm now working on a doctoral degree at Liberty University on executive leadership. I'm using that work every day, working with awesome small businesses and corporate businesses right here in Maine. Pretty much the New England region is my I got a couple outside of New England, but mostly New England is my territory. And that's what takes up my time. So working in occupation, in industry, also working with students, which, man, I need them way more than they need me. They really give me life. And when I'm not, at work or with my students, and I'm with my beautiful wife, Brianne, we've been married for 11 years now. My oldest child is my daughter, Graceland, who's 13. That's my baby girl. My middle child is Jace. He's my superstar athlete right now. Good football player, soccer player, basketball player, hockey player. He does it all. And then I got my baby son, who, man, time is flying. He's 4 years old. He's Jackson. He just started pre-K this year, and he's playing a little soccer himself, doing really good. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. How I started and what my journey was, and how I got to be where I am right now.
Well, thank you for that, TJ. And that actually, going back to one of the first things you said, that makes three of us each of us are not from Maine, but we've all fallen in love with it. So
Absolutely.
that's always great to hear. And myself too, I ended up in Portland right after a little stint in Ormond. So it feels like Kelsey hasn't yet. I know you have family there, but it feels like everyone ends up in Portland just for a little bit of time. But before I can ramble on about Maine, which also is another tangent I can go on, greatness is in you. That's the name of the keynote. Could you tell us a little more about it, TJ?
Oh man, you're gonna make me give it all away. But
just a tease.
I think I can give you a little teeny weeny piece.
All right.
Anybody who's been to one of our seminars or workshops, they know my underlying message. My underlying message is always about peace and love and self-awareness. And I think a lot of times we don't really understand just how great and resilient that we are. We do this thing. We spend so much time evaluating the people who are around us and seeing the greatness in everybody who's around us, but we only see our flaws. One of the things you might have heard me say in our emotional intelligence seminar, the second called "You got to focus on what you're packing, not what you're lacking." Right, and I think that's just a great way of really focusing on the positives that you have, and greatness is already in you, and that's the thing that we have to understand. We are born to be great. We are born with greatness. It's not something that we have to go out and achieve. Oftentimes, it's just something that we have to realize, right? Not go do, nothing you need to go do, nothing you need to go get. Something you have to realize is already inside of you. And the people who are able to realize it, are able to actualize it, are able to use it, and to really, transcend the greatness that's in them out onto the world and create greatness in other places, other situations, and in other people. So I'm really excited to bring that message to volunteers and volunteer managers, because oftentimes it is somewhat of a thankless job, a job that you wear a ton of hats, you do a lot of it all by yourself. And it's easy when you get by yourself to let, these 6 inches begin to take over. And I don't know about you, but, this is a dangerous place to be all by yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Negativity can very easily creep in, and you begin to believe some of those negative thoughts, which we can't stop. I'll talk about that in the seminar. We can't stop those negative thoughts, but we can remember who we are, and we can remember that greatness already lives inside of us. We can remember that we are resilient. And I'm going to give people a couple of tools and tricks and mantras that they can hide in their hearts, and they can put in safe places to stay in constant, to be constantly reminded that greatness already lives in them, which is just another well to draw from.
Well, I think especially after coming out of a pandemic, like you said, for a volunteer manager, it is a thankless job a lot of the times. And having, just having the tools to have a positive mindset can go so far. And I think, you've already kind of touched on our third and final question, and thank you so much for that, which would have been, and I'm going to change that just a little bit. What do you hope that folks will get out of your session? I think we covered that in your last answer. So, and I know we were talking about this before we started recording. Let me throw a little wrinkle in here. So, with all that being said, one of the issues that we're looking at on the whole for this episode, and really with the conference itself, is how to overcome this resource gap that has emerged in the field after the pandemic. And again, we will refer to the study that we did with the Muskie School. We'll put a link in the bio of our episode from last month so you folks can check it out. But just to reset that, TJ, how do you think your session can help volunteer managers, volunteer programs overcome at a large level this resource gap that is emerged after the pandemic?
Confidence. Anything you do with self-confidence. I was having this conversation with my son and my nephew getting ready to go play their first football game last week. And we just ask them a very simple question. You gonna win? Well, I don't know. They got some awful big guys. But hey, listen, if you go in there thinking about that, then no, you're not gonna win. You need to go into everything that you intend to do with greatness. You need to go into it with a good degree of confidence and a good degree of self-belief. It's infectious. When we possess self-confidence, really there's not much that we can achieve. I tell my students here at the university all the time, if you use your mind and you use your energy and you never quit, you will find success. Think about it, right? If you always use your mind, you always use your energy to do something about the things that you think about. Nothing changes till we do something. And you never quit, never give up, right? Then I have no problems with where you are, because I know you're eventually going to find a success that you're looking for. So the way that I think a volunteer manager can use the outcome of this time that we're going to spend together is to gain confidence in their abilities, to see themselves in what I would say is the right way, right? To see themselves as the leaders that they are, to recognize what it is that they give to the world. Know that it's not always going to be easy, but they should never quit, because what they're bringing to the world is absolutely something that the world needs. They're bringing a level of help, a level of love, to the world, which is exactly, if you look at the etymology of the word volunteer, that's exactly what it speaks to. I talk to my college students about volunteering as being even more important than occupation. You should put volunteerism on your resume. My father taught me about volunteerism. I was when I was 17. My dad ran a business. I used to have to get off the school bus at my dad's business because nobody was home, and he had somebody coming in for a job interview. And he told me it was the way the building was set up. You could see outside of the building, but it was a mirror on the outside, so people couldn't see in. So he saw his interviewee driving up, and the guy got out, prepped his hair in his little rearview mirror or whatnot. And my dad told me, "Okay, go back in the other room and finish up your homework. I got to do this interview. Make sure you're quiet." So, okay, so I started gathering up my stuff. But we watched this guy get out of his vehicle and start walking up toward the building. And as he walked up toward the building, he just bent over, picked up a brown paper bag that was on the ground, balled it up, and threw it in the trash can. My dad said to me, "I'm going to hire him. I'm going to hire him." And the reason why is because he did something that he didn't have to do. I tell my students here, everybody's got to go to class. If you want a degree, you got to go to class. But what about the things that you didn't have to do? What things are you doing that you don't have to do, right? So the spirit of volunteerism, right? The spirit of doing something voluntarily. Nobody made you do it, but you saw fit to do something that the world needed to be done. That's leadership, right? And that's love. And that's taking a situation that is status quo or less and making it better. What if everybody possessed that spirit? That's the world that we should be living in. So my heart really goes out to volunteers, volunteer managers, because at the end of the day, if we really look at what the job description is make the world a better place. And that's exactly what they do. So I just want to speak life into it. I want to let them know that what they do, even though sometimes it's thank less, it's just because they can't always hear the thank yous that are out there and always see the effects of and the outcomes of what it is that they bring to the world. So that's the outcome that I want for people. Those are the learning outcomes that I want for people who attend this time that we spend together.
Thank you so much, TJ. And
I need a weekly check-in with TJ to hype me up, to keep me focused. That's what I need. That was great.
Yes. Anytime. Happy.
Well, no, I think that's a fantastic place to end at least this portion of the episode, because that message of peace, love, and confidence is something that volunteer managers need, but I think it's something we could all use, especially today. So TJ Holloway, thank you so much. Again, the session will be called Greatness is in You. It is the keynote for the 2021 Maine Volunteer Leadership Conference. TJ, thanks again for taking the time, and truthfully, really looking forward to hearing your session in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Very awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kelsey, for having me.
Thank you.